Frozen in fear, the Empire realized humans wielded impossible power. Captain Isaac Clarke sat in the cockpit of his ship, the Phoenix, staring at the vastness of space before him. His fingers hovered over the controls, but his mind was miles away. The mission was unlike any other. They were heading into enemy territory, deep into the heart of the Empire's domain. Isaac had always been a man of action, but this mission felt different. The stakes were higher, the enemy was stronger, and the entire human race depended on the success of this operation. His crew was quiet, each person lost in their own thoughts. There was Dr. Claire Thompson, the ship's brilliant scientist, who had been instrumental in developing the new technology they were carrying. Then there was Lieutenant Andrew Harris, a man with a sharp mind and even sharper instincts. He was one of Isaac's most trusted officers. Together, they made a strong team, but even they knew this mission was going to test their limits. "Captain," Claire's voice came through the comms, breaking the silence. "We're entering the Empire's outer reaches. We should be ready for anything." Isaac nodded, his hand gripping the controls as the Phoenix pushed forward. They were entering a new world, one that no human had ever set foot in before. The Empire was an enormous, well-established power that had been around for centuries. They controlled vast stretches of space, and their technology was beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Isaac knew that if they failed, it could mean the end for Earth and its people. But if they succeeded, they would gain an edge that could change the course of the entire galaxy. As they entered the Empire's controlled space, a wave of unease washed over Isaac. The enemy was everywhere, watching, waiting. The Phoenix was a stealth ship, designed to move undetected, but even so, there was a sense of danger in the air. The Empire was known for its intelligence network, and it wouldn't be long before they were detected. "We're being scanned," Andrew reported. "Their sensors are picking us up." Isaac's heart raced. He had hoped to remain undetected for a while longer, but it seemed that wasn't going to be the case. He had to act fast. The Empire had advanced weapons that could destroy their ship with a single shot, and he wasn't about to let that happen. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Isaac ordered, his voice calm but firm. The Phoenix immediately shifted course, weaving through the stars as it dodged enemy scans. The ship's hull shimmered as it activated its stealth capabilities, making it nearly invisible to the enemy's sensors. Isaac knew that they had a small window of time before the Empire would react. They had to make it count. Just as the Phoenix entered a dense asteroid field, the Empire's fleet arrived. Isaac could see the massive ships in the distance, their dark forms cutting through the blackness of space. The Empire's vessels were unlike anything humanity had ever built. They were sleek, powerful, and heavily armed. It was clear that the humans were vastly outnumbered. "We've been spotted," Claire said, her voice filled with tension. "They're closing in fast." Isaac didn't hesitate. He had trained for moments like this his entire career. The crew of the Phoenix was well prepared, but this was no ordinary mission. This was a mission that could change the fate of humanity. Isaac pressed a button on his console, activating the ship's main weapon, a device that harnessed the power of a dying star. The ship hummed with energy as the device powered up. It was an ancient piece of technology, one that humanity had only recently discovered in the ruins of a long-dead alien civilization. The technology was dangerous, unpredictable, and unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Isaac had no idea how it would work, but he was willing to take the risk. The Empire was closing in, and they had no choice but to fight back. "Hold on," Isaac shouted as he activated the device. A brilliant pulse of light shot out from the Phoenix, blasting through the asteroid field and hitting the lead Empire ship directly. The explosion was enormous, sending shockwaves rippling through space. Isaac's heart raced as the enemy ship disintegrated into nothingness. But he didn't have time to celebrate. The Empire's fleet was still closing in, and they would be furious. "Captain, that was incredible," Andrew said, his voice filled with awe. Isaac didn't respond. He was too focused on what came next. The Phoenix was now visible to the Empire, and they wouldn't stop until they had destroyed it. Isaac's mind raced as he considered their options. They could try to fight their way out, but they were vastly outnumbered. The only chance they had was to keep moving and stay one step ahead of the Empire. "Prepare for another jump," Isaac ordered. "We need to get out of here now." The ship's engines roared to life as the Phoenix activated its hyperdrive, jumping to another location in the galaxy. But the damage was already done. The Empire had seen their power, and they would never forget it. Isaac's actions had shaken the foundations of the Empire, and in that moment the humans had proven they were capable of more than anyone had ever imagined. As the Phoenix made its escape, Isaac sat back in his seat, breathing a sigh of relief. They had made it, barely, but there was no time to rest. The battle was just beginning. The Empire would come after them, and they would stop at nothing to wipe out humanity. But Isaac knew one thing for sure. The Empire had underestimated them, and now they would have to face the consequences. The Phoenix raced through space, the stars streaking past as the ship's engines hummed at full power. Isaac Clarke sat in the cockpit, his hands gripping the controls tightly. His mind was focused on what lay ahead. The Empire's fleet had seen their power. The blast they had unleashed had taken out one of the Empire's largest warships, but the fight wasn't over. The Empire would be angry. They wouldn't just let this go. Isaac knew they were in for a long battle. The question was how long they could survive before the Empire's retaliation became too much. "Captain, we've lost contact with Earth," Claire Thompson said, her voice calm but tinged with concern. "The Empire's jamming devices are interfering with our communication systems." Isaac frowned. They were cut off from Earth, isolated in enemy space. The only help they could count on now was each other. He turned to Claire, who was sitting beside him, her face focused as she worked at her console. Her quick thinking had helped them get this far, and now they needed her more than ever. "Any way we can break through the jamming?" Isaac asked. Claire shook her head. "The Empire's technology is too advanced. We're going to have to rely on ourselves for now." Isaac sighed. He had known this mission would be dangerous, but he hadn't realized just how alone they would be. They were on their own now, with the entire Empire hunting them down. They couldn't let their guard down for a second. "Lieutenant Harris, what's the status of the ship?" Isaac asked, turning to his other trusted officer. Andrew Harris, the ship's tactical expert, looked up from his station. "We're holding steady for now. The Phoenix is holding up well, but we're running low on supplies. We won't be able to keep this up for much longer if we don't find a way to resupply." Isaac nodded. The ship was equipped with enough resources to last for a few weeks, but after that, they would have to find a way to restock. The Empire's space was vast, and their chances of finding a safe harbor in enemy territory were slim. But Isaac had no choice. He would do whatever it took to keep his crew alive and to stop the Empire. "Keep an eye on the engines," Isaac ordered. "We may need to make another jump soon." The ship continued to move through the dark void of space, and the crew fell into a tense silence. It wasn't long before they received another alert. The Empire had found them. They were closing in fast. "Captain, incoming ships," Andrew reported. "At least 10 of them, they're coming in fast." Isaac's heart sank. The Empire had already tracked them down. They were cornered, and the only way out was through a fight they couldn't afford to lose. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. This wasn't just about survival. It was about sending a message to the Empire that humanity wasn't to be underestimated. Isaac had no intention of going down without a fight. "Battle stations," Isaac ordered. "We fight or we die trying." The crew quickly went into action. Claire worked to stabilize the ship's power while Andrew prepared the ship's weapons systems. Isaac kept his focus on the incoming enemy ships. They were fast, but the Phoenix was more agile. Isaac had to outmaneuver them. The first Empire ship came into view. It was massive, its dark silhouette imposing against the backdrop of space. Isaac could feel the tension building as the distance closed between them. The Empire would not hold back. They had seen the Phoenix's power, and now they wanted revenge. Isaac wasn't about to make it easy for them. With a quick flick of his wrist, he veered the ship to the left, narrowly avoiding the Empire's first shot. The energy blast whizzed past them, missing by inches. Isaac's heart raced as he pushed the ship harder, dodging another blast. "Captain, the enemy ships are spreading out," Andrew said. "They're trying to surround us." Isaac's mind raced. He needed to think fast. They couldn't fight off 10 enemy ships at once. Their only chance was to break free and find a way to regroup. He turned to Claire. "Claire, can you make another jump?" he asked, his voice urgent. Claire nodded. "I'll need a few minutes to calculate the jump point. It's going to be close." Isaac didn't have time to argue. He had to keep the Empire at bay long enough for Claire to work her magic. He pulled the ship into a sharp dive, narrowly avoiding another blast. The Phoenix was fast, but the Empire's ships were relentless. The battle was becoming more intense by the second. "We're losing fuel," Andrew shouted. At this rate, we won't have enough power for another jump. Isaac cursed under his breath. They were running out of time and options. He needed to find a way out, and fast. But then a thought crossed his mind. What if they didn't have to escape? What if they could turn the tables on the Empire and show them that humanity wasn't weak? Claire, forget the jump, Isaac said, a new plan forming in his mind. I want you to target their lead ship. We'll take it down. Claire looked at him, surprised. Are you sure it's risky if we miss? We won't miss, Isaac interrupted. We've got one shot at this. Take the shot. Claire didn't hesitate. She worked quickly, locking onto the enemy ship's weak point. Isaac's heart pounded as the ship's weapons powered up. This was it. They either succeeded and crippled the Empire's fleet, or they would be overrun. Isaac gripped the controls as Claire fired. A massive energy blast shot out from the Phoenix, hitting the Empire's lead ship dead center. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Isaac couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The Empire had underestimated them once again. We've got their attention now, Isaac said, his voice steady, but it won't be long before they retaliate. Claire nodded, her face grim. We've made a powerful enemy today. Isaac turned back to the controls, his mind racing. They had just taken down one of the Empire's largest ships, but the fight was far from over. The Empire wouldn't back down. They would come after the Phoenix with everything they had. But Isaac wasn't afraid. He had proven that humanity could hold its own against the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and now they would fight for their survival. The crew braced themselves as the remaining Empire ships closed in. Isaac's grip on the controls tightened. This was just the beginning. The Empire had seen what they could do, and now they would see just how far humanity was willing to go to fight for their freedom. The Phoenix was drifting in space, the stars scattered like diamonds against the blackness of the universe. Isaac Clarke sat quietly in the cockpit, his mind racing with thoughts of what had just happened. They had destroyed one of the Empire's flagship vessels, and yet the Empire wasn't backing down. Instead, they were now angrier than ever, and Isaac knew that they would stop at nothing to bring the Phoenix and its crew to an end. Captain, Claire Thompson said softly, breaking his thoughts. We're running low on supplies. We won't last much longer without resupply. We need to find a place where we can hide, at least for a while. Isaac turned to look at her. Claire was the ship's scientist, brilliant and resourceful, but even she couldn't make food or fuel out of thin air. They were alone in space, with no communication from Earth and the Empire closing in fast. He knew that they had to find a solution, and they had to find it soon. Any ideas, Claire? Isaac asked, his voice steady but filled with the pressure of the situation. Claire looked at her screen and then back at Isaac. There's a small, uncharted planet nearby. We could make it there in a few hours. It's risky, but it might be our only chance. If the Empire doesn't catch us before we land, we could get the supplies we need and plan our next move. Isaac didn't hesitate. Set course for that planet, then. We don't have time to waste. The Phoenix adjusted its course, and the engines hummed to life as the ship began its journey to the unknown planet. As they neared the planet's atmosphere, Isaac could see the massive surface below, covered in thick forests and mountains. The planet looked peaceful from a distance, but Isaac knew better than to trust appearances. The Empire might not know about the planet, but there was no guarantee it would stay hidden for long. Get ready, Isaac said to his crew. We may have to move quickly once we land. The Phoenix entered the atmosphere of the planet, the heat from the friction shaking the ship. Isaac's grip on the controls tightened. This was a delicate landing, and one wrong move could spell disaster, but they couldn't afford to miss this chance. The planet might be their only hope of survival. With skill and precision, Isaac guided the Phoenix to the surface, landing in a dense forest on the edge of a mountain range. The ship's engines sputtered, and the ship shook slightly as it touched down. They had made it. We're on the ground, Isaac said, letting out a sigh of relief. Now we need to get to work. The crew quickly went to work, unloading supplies and preparing the ship for whatever came next. Claire worked on securing the ship's systems while Andrew Harris scanned the area for any signs of danger. Isaac, ever the leader, kept a close eye on their surroundings. They were on an unknown planet, and they had no idea what kind of dangers it might hold. The Empire could be on their tail at any moment. Hours passed as the crew worked, gathering resources from the planet's surface. They found clean water, food, and materials that would help them repair the ship's systems, but the work wasn't easy. They had to remain vigilant, always looking over their shoulders, knowing that the Empire could find them at any moment. Isaac stood outside the ship, watching the sun set over the mountains. The planet was beautiful, but he couldn't afford to get distracted by its peaceful appearance. They were in enemy territory, and they had to stay focused if they wanted to survive. "Captain," Andrew called out, his voice tense. "There's something on the scanners." "I'm picking up movement nearby." Isaac's heart skipped a beat. The Empire had found them. It was only a matter of time before they came for the Phoenix. Isaac turned to his crew, his expression serious. "Get back to the ship now," he ordered. "We don't have much time." The crew quickly gathered their things and rushed back to the ship. As they made their way to the Phoenix, Isaac could hear the distant sounds of ships in the sky. The Empire was closing in fast. They needed to leave, and they needed to leave now. "Get the engines started," Isaac barked as he climbed into the cockpit. "We have to take off before they get too close." Claire was already at her station, working quickly to activate the ship's systems. Andrew was at his post, ready to defend them if necessary. Isaac's fingers moved swiftly over the controls, guiding the ship back into the sky. The ship's engines roared to life as it lifted off from the planet's surface. But just as they were about to break through the atmosphere, the Phoenix was struck by a blast from behind. The ship lurched forward, sending the crew tumbling. Isaac struggled to maintain control of the ship as alarms blared. "We've been hit," Andrew shouted. "There's damage to the engines." Isaac's mind raced as he fought to keep the ship in the air. They couldn't afford to fall back to the planet, and they couldn't let the Empire destroy them now. He gritted his teeth and pushed the ship harder, his focus sharp as he guided it through the atmosphere. "We're not going down that easily," Isaac muttered to himself. "We've come too far." With a final push, Isaac broke the Phoenix free from the planet's atmosphere, sending it into the vastness of space. The ship was damaged, but it was still flying. The Empire might have struck them, but they hadn't won yet. "Status report," Isaac said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We're in the clear for now," Claire replied, "but the damage to the engines is worse than we thought. We're going to have to make repairs before we can jump again." Isaac nodded. "We'll do what we can. We can't risk being caught in this state." The crew was silent for a moment, each of them processing what had just happened. They had barely escaped, and the Empire was still out there. But Isaac knew one thing for sure: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. They had proven it once again, and as long as they still had breath in their lungs, they would continue to fight. "We'll fix the ship," Isaac said, determination in his voice. "And then we'll show the Empire just how strong humanity really is." The Phoenix was floating in the emptiness of space, its damaged engines barely keeping it together. Isaac Clarke sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless void. His fingers rested on the controls, but his mind was far from calm. Every part of him knew they were still in danger. The Empire would not stop coming after them. And now, their ship was broken, with only a small chance of getting to safety. "Captain, the repairs are coming along, but it's slow," Claire Thompson said, her voice echoing in the quiet of the ship. "The engines are almost patched up, but we need to find a way to get more parts if we want to make a real jump." Isaac turned to face her. Claire was always calm in the worst situations, but even she couldn't hide the worry in her eyes. They had barely made it out of their last encounter with the Empire. It was clear that the Empire had not forgotten the damage the Phoenix had caused, and they would be looking for them. Isaac knew they couldn't stay in this position forever. "Keep working on the repairs. We'll need to find another place to resupply," Isaac said. "But we have to be smart. The Empire is watching." Isaac didn't need to say more. Claire nodded and returned to her station, quickly getting to work. Isaac looked around the cockpit. His crew was still shaken from the close call, but they were fighters. They would push through this. Isaac had no doubt about that. "Lieutenant Harris, keep an eye out for any ships," Isaac ordered. "We can't afford to be caught off guard." Andrew Harris, ever alert, nodded. "I've got it, Captain. We'll know if anyone's coming." Isaac sat back in his seat, trying to clear his mind. He had been through many battles before, but this one was different. The fate of humanity was hanging in the balance. The Empire might be stronger, but the humans had proven they could fight back. Isaac had no intention of letting this fight end in defeat. After what seemed like hours of silence, Andrew spoke up. "Captain, I'm detecting an incoming ship. It's not Empire, it's strange. I can't make out the signature." Isaac's heart skipped a beat. They couldn't afford to deal with another enemy, but if it wasn't the Empire, it might be their chance for help. "Can you identify it?" Isaac asked, his voice steady but with a hint of hope. Andrew shook his head. Not yet. I'm trying to get a better scan. It's moving slowly, but it's definitely headed in our direction. Isaac stood up, his mind working fast. If it was a ship from the Empire, they were in trouble. But if it wasn't, it could mean they weren't alone out here. It could be their chance to find allies. Isaac had to take the risk. He turned to his crew. Prepare for contact. Get the ship ready in case we need to make a quick escape, Isaac ordered. Let's see who's out there. The tension in the air was thick as the crew moved quickly to prepare. Isaac remained at the controls, watching the unknown ship as it slowly closed in. The ship's signature was unusual, not like anything the Empire would use. It wasn't big, but it was clearly moving with purpose. Isaac's instincts told him that this wasn't an enemy ship, but he couldn't be sure. Captain, the ship is almost in range, Andrew said, his voice filled with uncertainty. We're going to know soon enough. Isaac nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. His fingers hovered over the weapon's controls, just in case. The Phoenix wasn't fully repaired, but it was still armed, and Isaac wasn't going to let anyone catch them off guard. Then, as the ship got closer, something unexpected happened. The unknown ship sent out a signal, a simple message, clear and direct. The words flashed on Isaac's screen. "Human, we come in peace." Isaac stared at the message. It was unexpected, but in this universe, anything was possible. Who could this be? Were they another human faction? Or perhaps some other race that had been watching them? Isaac's mind raced, but he kept his calm. He had to think clearly. He wasn't about to trust anyone without more information. "We need to respond," Isaac said, more to himself than anyone else. "Let's see if they're telling the truth." Isaac activated the communication system. He didn't have time for a long message, but they needed to make sure they weren't walking into a trap. "This is Captain Isaac Clarke of the Phoenix. We received your message." "Who are you and what is your intention?" For a moment there was silence, then the voice that came through was calm and steady, though Isaac could hear the hint of curiosity in it. "We are the Strelians. We have been following your journey. We are not your enemy. We know the Empire's reach, and we have no love for them." Isaac's heart skipped a beat. The Strelians? He had heard rumors of a peaceful race that had been in hiding for years, avoiding the Empire's control. But to think they had been watching humanity. This was unexpected, but it could be the break they needed. "If you want peace, why are you here?" Isaac asked, cautious but curious. The voice on the other end responded, "We offer you a chance to regroup. We have supplies and we know of safe places the Empire doesn't know about, but we can't stay here long. They will find us if we wait too long." Isaac glanced at his crew. This was the chance they needed, but it was a risk. They didn't know the Strelians or their true intentions, but they also couldn't afford to turn away potential help. "Where are you?" Isaac asked, his voice firm. "We'll guide you to us," the Strelian voice replied, "but you must hurry. The Empire's scouts are closing in on your location." Isaac didn't waste any time. "Get ready for a jump, Claire. Set course for their coordinates." Claire's hands moved quickly over the controls. "Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Phoenix's engines roared to life as it jumped into the unknown. The ship shot through space, moving faster than the stars could keep up. Isaac's heart pounded as they sped toward the Strelians' location. The Empire might be close, but now they had allies. Or at least that's what they hoped. The jump was quick, and within moments the Phoenix arrived at a small moon orbiting a barren planet. A small fleet of ships hovered in the area, hidden away in the shadow of the moon. It was a strange and quiet place, but it didn't seem like the Empire had found it yet. "We're here," Isaac said, relief washing over him. "Let's see what the Strelians have for us." As they docked with one of the smaller ships, the crew of the Phoenix stepped into the unfamiliar environment. The inside of the Strelian ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was smooth and organic, with glowing lines running along the walls, giving off a soft, welcoming light. A figure stood waiting for them. She was tall, with soft blue skin and glowing eyes. She spoke first, her voice soft and calm. "Welcome, Captain Isaac Clarke. We've been waiting for you." Isaac stepped forward, keeping his guard up, but there was a part of him that wanted to believe. This was the moment they had been waiting for. They had a chance to survive, a chance to fight back against the Empire with the help of the Strelians. And for the first time in a long while, Isaac felt hope.